can say the same thing 10 times over, but as soon as one of the brewers or one of the owners reinforces that, they go, oh yeah, that's when it really sneaks in.
Potentially build beyond 10, 15 million litres a year, but we obviously need to have a lot of resources and infrastructure in place to be able to sell that beer, and hopefully there's enough people out there that want to drink it.
I came in as a casual. I worked canning line, delivery, anywhere I could just to get involved in this business.
The winner of the People's Choice Precinct Brewery!
It was quite unexpected in a lot of ways, really. We did put a lot of effort and everything into it, but to win that on the first outing was kind of, no words for it, really.
And I still remember it as a very smooth, soft introduction to beer. And I really enjoyed it, and that's where the whole journey started.
That's for the next few years at least. The real focus on quality, product flavour improvement, product stability and improvements, and real that continuous improvement model.
Different things. Obviously, the owners like hop forward beers, but they're open to suggestions and ideas and brew all sorts of wonderful stuff.
That way we run 2 shifts. One starts at 6, one starts at 11. Guys end at 7. Get out of here, go home, have a life. No one's doing shift work. Nobody's getting calls at midnight. I think making beer in traditional methods and traditional styles that have been around for hundreds of years has a lot of merit. If you go into Europe, people are still making great beers that have been there for a long time. The craft brewing industry, both in the US and Australia, have taken those, and we've modified them or changed them or done something quirky to them. Is it necessary? I don't know. If you go to Bavaria, those guys serve like 3 types of beer in every single town, and that's it. You get a Helles, you get a Dunkel, you get a Schwarzbier or something like that, and that's it. And just drink that town's beer. Go to Cologne, all the breweries in Cologne just make Kolsch. Right on.
Matic Brewing founders Jimmy and Annalise were doing their bit to make sure those styles were available to craft beer drinkers on the Gold Coast, often conversing in their native tongue of Flemish while doing it.
Friends of ours started brewing, and I was really intrigued with it. I'm like, wow, this is cool. Wow, I would love to learn that as well. Had a brew day with them together, and it was quite interesting. I'm like, I want to do this as well, and that's why we bought a little Brewmeister and started brewing in our shed. That's how it all started. Before we went to school and wanted to learn more about it, because I have a technical background, and I don't know, and it happens a lot apparently. People with a technical background, one way or the other, they come into brewing. Because it's kind of technical as well, and there's a lot of things involved in it, and it's that's how it started.
More technical than fitting out the taproom, I'm sure. But Jimmy had an eye for detail nonetheless.
I did work for an employer for 3 years, and also again to comply with our visa restrictions that we had. And as soon as we received permanent residency, I quit my job and we pushed forward the brewery, trying to find ourselves a new location, a bigger location, because all of a sudden we were allowed to move into the Gold Coast with our business. Then COVID hit, so we had to postpone those plans a little bit, seeing where the world would go towards. And this premises had been offered to us. It came towards us rather than us finding this premises. And the landlord had high interest in getting us here. We weren't really looking at this building at the start, but once they really pushed on, as in, we really need to come and have a look, we did come and check it out, and it just suited us perfectly.
As well as completing the fit-out, brewing enough beer for the opening was also on the to-do list.
At first, we thought potentially it would be too big, but when we had a look around, it suited us perfectly. So we took these premises, and now we're already realizing it might be too small for us. But we'll see how that goes in the future.
Either way, it was a massive step forward from their previous operation.
Dan was here from Black Ops a couple of weeks ago, and he was asking, how big is it? I said, oh, I actually don't know. It's like, it was funny. I think it's in the 600 square meters, the whole building. Brewing-wise, we could produce 140,000 liters in this facility, which is quite a bit more than we used to do out of our garage. So it makes the business sustainable. What it wasn't in the garage, it was way too small, but it was just to get our brand out there. And so there was some hard yards there to get it up and running, because the capacity there was maximum 10,000 liters. So a massive difference with this one, for sure.
So our old garage pilot system in which we started this journey, we were the smallest commercial brewery in southeast Queensland, potentially in the whole of Australia. Ran it from our residential garage. It looked pretty awesome in the garage, but arriving up here in this brewery, in this space, it is a baby. It is a baby.
The old system would still come in handy, but for now, brewer Mitch had work to do fine-tuning the new equipment.
Yeah, started the brew house up yesterday for the first time, and all went well. Put down a wheat beer, and all the numbers lined up, so that was pretty good. So, yeah.
When you're testing something this big for the first time, what's the main concern?
That everything works how it should, I guess. That everything that's on the PLC lines up with what vessel it's connected to. Hopefully there's no leaks, all the pipe work goes right, and we don't send anything somewhere it shouldn't go. Meanwhile, all those tanks behind me, they're empty bar one, so we've got 6 other tanks to fill, plus the pilot system as well, so hopefully we'll fill those up over the coming weeks. Or we will fill those up over the coming weeks. Hopefully maybe brew every day next week. See how we go.
And the brand's future also included a budding young brewer carrying the Van Eetvelde name.
A big help in this story was my son, Noah. He's 17 and he was super with helping me out with the whole build, and he's studying brewing now as well. So he's at TAFE now to do the brewing course, so that's pretty awesome. And then our daughter, 15, did the whole design for the interior. And Annelies as well helped us as well with the painting and everything. So it was a whole family thing to get it done in those 7 months. Yeah.
So we got ourselves a 12-hec 3-vessel system, so 3-vessel brew house with 2,400 litre fermenters and 1,200 litre fermenters. So we sourced all this equipment in China. It's all brand new.
All this new equipment would make for a busy new schedule, and the layout would definitely be ticking all the boxes for that craft brewery appeal.
The basic idea is that our patrons could see the brewery whilst we are working in it, and for us as well to see the patrons enjoying our beer, which is awesome. I think we've got a very good flow, a very good overview of our taproom and the brewery. People are going to see a lot of stainless steel up here, which is awesome. And we even got an upstairs room, and that was completely closed off the brewery area, so we put in an additional window just to have us having a better view over the brewery.
An all-new outdoor area was also being added and was coming together in record time.
That quick? Yeah, they're all being made. So he put the post in a couple of weeks ago. So we measured it all up. So now you can put the shade sails in. And then next week they're going to put the fake grass in. So by Friday I could sit outside with my beer and yeah. So, yeah.
It's not going to be dusty anymore, right?
No, it's all fine. So he's going to finish up that wall, and then hopefully this afternoon he's going to put on the shade sails. Yeah. Big tap room, outdoor area, and we also have a function room that we're going to start using upstairs with a big window where you can see the whole brewery. So there's a connection between the function room and the downstairs. I'm pretty proud of our window that we put in ourselves. So yeah.
It sounded like brand mascot Stella was the only one getting some rest.
So January 2020, we signed the lease contract for this premises. In March, we started the fit out and we opened up our doors for the general public 31st of October this year.
What did we do ourselves? Well, we had a builder helping us out as well about cutting open the slab, putting in the drains, wastewater system, creating falls on the floor, putting an epoxy coating on, then putting all the tanks in, hook all the glycol lines up, and build the whole brewery itself. And there's so many aspects and so many things you have to do. So I was here like working 14 hours a day to get it done on that time frame.
Just in time for opening, their recent award would be proudly displayed behind the bar.
Winning the Brewer's Choice at Crafted was actually pretty cool, considering that we were still in our garage. So to get that recognition from the industry was quite awesome.
That was a massive boost for us, having that recognition from all the brewers, all the fellow breweries here around the Gold Coast and in Brisbane saying to us, you are on the right track, you are doing great things, and we cannot wait for you guys to open up your venue. So we are very appreciative of that, and we just can't wait to share more beers with the Australian public.
The soft opening was a healthy mix of family, friends and industry figures met with a full row of taps and a team ready to boast about the fruits of all their hard work. And so, by the end of 2021, the Belgian brewing family had well and truly entered the scene. As 2022 got underway, I received word that the Currumbin duo had some positive news to share. And I was soon racing back out to the valley for another update. Pete and Luke's long-awaited dream to open their own tap house was now a big step closer, as Luke had recently dealt with some of that dreaded red tape.
G'day, mate. I was just cracking a beer. Good timing. You knew I was coming. I did. But I'm sharing scary, mate. It'd be rude not to. Cheers. Chomp. Right. Yeah. First impressions, please. And you can't blow wind up my ass.
Hoppy, bitter, but very smooth. It's got that caramel.
That's it. Pretty much
The balance is nailed.
It's an old school West Coast IPA. So we're looking for good bitterness whack and something Mitch Steele would have been proud of.
I don't know who he is, but I'm proud of it.
Oh, same.
I'm proud of it.
There was plenty of reason to celebrate, with Luke's efforts timed to perfection.
So, mate, word on the street is that you got the government grant through.
Yeah, we applied for the Queensland Government Business Boost grant, and it was pretty lucky to get it, I think, because the applications, there was 395 applications, and the applications closed within an hour of submitting. But yeah, I think it opened at 9 and by 10 it was closed that day. But yeah, I was stoked we managed to pick that up. But we've got this Taproom expansion that we're working on down in Currumbin Waters. So part of the government grant, it was a business boost grant, and part of that they had a priority for future planning of your business. So we decided to put in our town planning and council application as part of the grant.
And a whole new chapter meant a whole new brand of excitement.
When we started this 2 years ago, and we sat out there and talked about having a tap house, it seemed a long way off. I'm still here, you're still here. How excited are you now?
Oh,
How
man,
does it feel?
It feels great. It feels exactly like it did when we were starting this operation. There's an inherent amount of fear and anxiety, and then an enormous amount of excitement, bro. I can't wait to do it. And for me, ultimately, I'm an extrovert. I love getting in front of people and having a chat, and I just can't wait to have that several times a week. It's gonna be great. So yeah, bring it on.
But first, there would be an obligatory test of patience.
So if there's one thing that's like holding you up right now, what is it?
Oh yeah, just like paperwork and all that sort of stuff at the moment, like the usual bureaucratic sort of stuff. And it'd be nice to see some sort of guideline, to be honest, like a federal guideline, if not a state one, around breweries and how they go through this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we're just playing the game like everyone else. We've submitted and we've paid for our development application. So from here on in, mate, it's just... Well, not really. There's still plenty to do, but yeah, I'm excited, mate. We'll get there soon.
So you had a good break over Christmas.
Yeah, we did, mate. Yeah, so we were sitting on a bit of stock too, so we could have that break, and yeah, it's good to get some cash back into the business now. And I think people are expecting new beers. Starting to see like from sales and inquiries. Oh, anything new coming out? Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, mate, like we're enjoying working on the business rather than in it for a bit, which is crucial at this stage. There's a big expansion coming. And areas of the business that neither Luke or I have worked in before, so there's a lot of learning to do behind the scenes.
And that brew house wasn't going to clean itself. So what was it going to take to open the new doors from here?
So where are you at with the whole process right now?
So at the moment we have the council development application lodged, so we're just waiting on that to get approved. We've, there's a little bit of time around that, sort of 55 days all up, business days. We've got to wait for them to come back with sort of an information request in the middle. And yeah, also applying for our liquor license and stuff. So, bit of a slow process with all of the COVID stuff over the past 2 years. So I think it's good, in hindsight, it's probably, good timing considering, we're hopefully coming to the end of all of that, and, we'll be opening in a venue.
I was wondering, as I think a lot of other people were crafted just past, whether or not you were going to win Brewers' Choice 3 years in a row. You didn't?
No.
But you're happy for the people that did?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So Matic are good mates of ours, and they started with an even smaller operation than us. So to see them win, it's fantastic, and they have my vote on the day, which is fantastic. But look, at the end of the day, man, we really want to support anyone, and winning 3, while it's some sort of kind of libido tick or something, or ego trip, I wouldn't have probably accepted it on the day if we got it. It would have been like, come on, man, it's getting a bit ridiculous.
It was 2 years ago you were trying to fix that switch.
Yeah, probably.
We end up replace it with one that doesn't have a switch on it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, by the sound of it, next time I see you, we might actually be standing down there, and you can point and shoot and tell me where everything's going to go.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Cheers again, mate.
Cheers, legend. Congratulations. Thanks for coming out here, Dan.
As the old saying goes, time flies when you're having fun. And I had a feeling I'd be meeting them in their new surroundings before I knew it. while I waited for Pete and Luke's next move, harvest time had rolled around again at Possum Lane. And I couldn't head out to Stanthorpe without seeing what was new on the Granite Belt menu. Jeff and Adrian had been busy, and it seemed like there was plenty on the horizon for this relatively unknown regional brand.
Yeah, we've got lots going on between the restaurant, the accommodation and the brewery.
And you still got Adrian here. How's he fitting into the place? What kind of impact has he made?
Yeah, Adrian's great. So he was our head chef for 3 years and his palate is great. And he's working with spices when we're doing things like saisons and things like that. We're looking for spice. He knows the ratios that we need to do, and he knows what's going to work and what's going to clash.
It sounded like Adrian's skill set was greatly appreciated.
Mate, from what Jeff tells me, you've really found a home here in this department.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty much the same as cooking. It's recipes, following them. I suppose it's more, I like to tweak things up a little bit, change it up, not so black and white. Beers, like the seasonals, muck around with those.
Adrian's does a lot with the sours. So we've got Merlot barrels, Port barrels, and Chardonnay barrels. So he's blending those to get a sour that's heavily impacted by wood, which is what we're after.
And on that note, it was time to put the feelers out.
Is there anything particular that you feel like you've brewed recently, a really special beer?
I got contacted by a local farmer, first season of doing his blueberries, and he had these blueberries that didn't look good, but they tasted great. And in our process of doing it, we were trying to reduce wastage in the area. We saw an opportunity, so we bought 100 kilos of it just to try it out, see what it's doing with it. We've got a blueberry ale, which is ready for our local festival, which starts this weekend.
So that we got some local blueberries, pressed them out, got the syrup, then cooked down the remainder, and that's come out as a really nice deep purple sort of beer, something a bit different.
I can't say I was the biggest sour fan in the world, but I was getting exponentially more thirsty the more these two blokes talked about beer.
Jeff also tells me that you specialise in sours where you use some wine barrels to increase the flavour and give it a character. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so with the wine barrels, so we've got a Merlot barrel and a couple of Port barrels. And what that does is it makes every individual batch unique. So no two batches will be the same. So what you're looking for is, out of each batch, you'll be like a really good quality balsamic. So you'll have the tartness, a little bit of sweetness, the aftertaste. It all balances out, it's something a bit different. At the moment, there's a big trend in following for sours, so it's something different.
The brewery's surrounds led to the gateways for some of the Granite Belt's famous hiking trails. And while I was there, I'd be having a quick look around. Hearing about the festival, I had yet another reason to head back out there in the future.
So the Apple and Grape Festival is our every 2 years. It gets people in from all over there. So for our little town that holds 5,000 people, we get about 60,000 people turn up for the 2-day event. So.
With the festivals that are coming to town, I guess you guys would be a good gauge of just how much is happening in the region. Does it feel like the region's really growing?
So yeah, it's pretty much, we get the followers all the time for those sort of festivals. We'll get the occasional people that just come down to see what it's like, but we get a lot of people that will book accommodation straight after they've just finished and ready for 2 years' time. So it brings a lot of people to the district.
There was no mistaking how Jeff and Adrian's manpower would be stretched to the limit in this brewhouse. And with so much local produce at their fingertips, I wondered whether or not the biggest problem was enough time in the day or enough bottles in the yard.
We started doing cider using just the two ingredients, local apple juice and yeast. And it's just great having a product that you can get squished down the road, grown from down the road, squished down the road, and dropped here 20 minutes after they squished it. And so we just add yeast to it, and that's our cider, and it is a great product.
It certainly is a long day on the road to come out and visit this group, but I wouldn't miss it for the world. Regardless of the fact that these guys don't have a lot of time for me today, to get here and find out that they're run off their feet is the best news I could get. And the more and more they talk about the beer that they've been brewing, well, my mouth is watering.
We're doing a chocolate series, so we've done a whole lot of the chocolate, like the porter, and we flavoured it up with coconut, so it's like a bounty. We've done a spin on the Ferrero Rocher, so the hazelnut. We've also got a rose water, so Turkish Delight. So they're all stuff we run on tap and just change them over to keep it interesting for the tourists, and yeah.
It seemed like Chef Adrian was catering to every possibility. So where to from here?
Yeah, we're happy with where we are. You can always do more, but sometimes bigger is just bigger. We're looking for the product. We keep on producing, and and we're enjoying what we're doing.
And after gathering all the juicy shots, it seemed only fair that the cameraman got in on the action as well.
Wasn't wrong about that.
That's nice. This place is great.
The local produce story had a new chapter all of its own. Just not the one I expected. The Possum Lane hop crop was looking every bit a success. But I had an untrained eye. And Rick would have to let me down easy.
Mate, it's as green as I've ever seen it out here, but you tell me it's not quite the yield that you wanted this year.
Yeah, you would have thought, damn, we would have had a cracker, but everything was a bit late, so they're playing catch-up. As you see, they're a bit bunched and a bit small.
Yeah, I mean, to the naked eye, it looks like a bumper crop.
Well, I've got to say they start normally coming out in September, and October they weren't doing anything, and it wasn't until we got a stack of rain in November they really shot up. But they've been playing catch-up ever since, and that's why the yield will be down. But you're right, if you'd seen them in September or October, you would have thought, whoop, nothing at all. But it's very pleasing, and we'll get a half-decent crop, which is great. Obviously, in hindsight, with all the rain, we were hoping for a better crop, but everything started late. We had a late winter, and the soil was too cold.
To go with his original dam, Rick had recently acquired another property across the road with one more than twice its size.
But then we got that big dose of rain in November, boompa, and they've just really been playing catch-up ever since. So they're a bit smaller, but it's not a bad yield. I'm not whinging at all, mate. We got something off them, and if the alpha acids and everything, if the quality's as good as last year, then happy days.
So all was not lost, and there was enough of a crop to warrant Rick bringing in some new help.
Give it a rest.
Trying to make a documentary over here.
And he had a new customer.
And you've got someone else who's interested in taking stock off you.
Yeah, well, that's right. We've got Mouse-Proof Brewery in Toowoomba. Mouse-Proof, set up by a unique combination of panel beaters and academics from USQ.
Perfect brewing
Absolutely, mate. And they're interested in taking some, and they're making some very funky beers, and they really want to promote the connection between the beer you drink and the soil it comes from, and the whole agricultural connection. So I'm looking forward to that. That's very exciting.
You sound like the right man for the job.
Well, it's good for people to know where their food and their beverages are coming from, and this is an ideal opportunity over a few beers to get people engaged. What could be better than that?
Possum Lane's new recruits were outsiders to the agricultural game, but they had one all-important thing in common with Rick: bucket loads of enthusiasm.
Yeah, well, we've known Rick and Mary for a few years, and it's one of those opportunities that just evolved over, a few nights and afternoons drinking some beers, essentially. And our backgrounds are office working and psychology, so it's completely different for us. We've been here for 6 months now, and probably only just starting to get a grasp of the task in front of us right now.
We moved to Stanthorpe about 3 years ago, and we're really looking for that tree change and different opportunities. We didn't know what that was going to look like, and we met fantastic Rick and Mary who are full of enthusiasm, and when they talked about their farm and what they did, we thought, wow, that would be great to join forces and see what we can come up with together on top of what Rick has already established. So for me, you know, getting my hands dirty and getting back into nature was a really big factor, and that was very appealing.
And just as well, considering it was a huge change of scenery.
Yeah, so I'm a market researcher by trade. And Nicole's a psychologist, so I've spent close to 25 years working in offices for big organisations, and this is the first time the two of us have owned a business, an agricultural business, so there's a lot of new stuff going on all of a sudden.
I do some research around food systems, and I started to learn a lot more about where my food came from and local food systems, and so that was really appealing from a business perspective and passion, I guess, you know, doing something that we really believe in. So. Plus I'm a beer drinker, so I really enjoy my craft beer. So when I first came here and actually smelt the hops, I thought, oh my goodness, like I didn't realise that this is how beer is made. And so I've learnt a lot just over the last year or so, just how hops are grown, what they look like, what they smell like. I did ask Rick for a pillowcase of them because I thought, yeah, that's wonderful. Why wouldn't we all sleep with hops? They're very aromatic and just really interesting to learn about.
Yeah, we lived in London for 3 years back in the late 2000s and just loved the beer over there. Got into the real ales, and by the time we came back here, craft beer was really starting to get ahead of steam, and it's just so much more delicious than all the other beers. How could you not get into it? What's your favourite beer?
My favourite beer? Oh, that's a really good question. I really like your IPAs. I like your bitter, but also hoppy beer as well. But I also quite like your dark beers too, like a milk stout and nut brown ale, and those ones as well. So I'm happy to drink it all, really.
As always, Rick's eyes were on the prize, although he still wasn't quite sure what the prize was.
You said they're going to take the Chinook off you. Yeah, they're interested in that in particular. I love the sort of orangey, citrusy stuff going on there. So so we've got them dotted throughout. They were sort of ringing. So we've got these guys here. There's a few Chinook up there, and then the major bank of Chinooks is over there. So we'll probably, once we know what they want, and they might want some fresh stuff, which would be great. We haven't done one of those before where we've delivered straight from the vine into the brew. Within a couple of hours, that would be terrific. But he's still making up his mind. All right.
It's
all right. You've got a hell of a lot of stuff on the back of the ute. How much, like weight-wise, have you pulled in this year? We've just finished picking, drying, and packaging the cascades, and we've got about 35 kilos dry, which is about 120 kilos wet, and it's about a kilo a bind. So it's not too bad at all. But it's pretty finicky doing it all by hand, but that's part of the joy. You get close to your product, right? the beer you get tastes even better. Yeah, that's right. So, there's nothing mechanical about this operation. We're just not big enough to afford the technology. So, Leon, Nick and I spend a lot of hours just plucking those babies off and then doing the drying and packaging.
Yeah, well, I think for us the passion's all about local, so local food systems, and the fact that we've got 2 breweries, soon to be a 3rd locally, and of course lots of restaurants. Like, we can easily see the opportunity for a business just to grow really good food, fresh stuff. Basically, we pick it and deliver it the next day or that afternoon. So the passion's there for us, and the market opportunity was there instantly as soon as we started talking about it. It's like everyone drinks beer and everyone eats food. How can you say no?
But all that enthusiasm would still come with a period of adjustment.
We've been picking and harvesting today, so I smell like hops when I go home and in the morning when I come here. It's as they say, the more you know about something, the more interesting it is, and you kind of appreciate where it's come from and the work that's been involved in harvesting it.
Do you feel you know enough about it yet, or are you still?
Very much still learning. So last Friday was my first harvest of the hops. So I've just been learning over the last 5 days. They've been standing here beautifully, nice and strong growing as we've been doing the vegetables. And last Friday it was all steam ahead and we started cutting it down. So I've been up on the ladder and cutting it and picking it and drying it and packing it. So I think I still have quite a way to go, but my learning curve is like this. I know a lot more today than I did last Thursday, that's for sure.
And I was sure that Leon and Nicole already knew a lot more than me. Back on the Gold Coast, after nearly 3 years of operating at their second site, the new Black Hops canning line was almost up and running, and I was about to get an eyeful.
Got something to show me, mate?
You know how I told you we were growing? I wasn't kidding. This is our new canning line. Come check it out.
Oh yeah.
This is something that we've been working on for about 2.5 years now.
Mate, impressive is an understatement.
Mate, I wasn't kidding when I said that we'd be expanding coming this year, and here we are. It's really exciting to see everything starting to come together. We've filled the room out, all the gear's been assembled.
This was one impressive bit of kit, and it required a team of international experts to get it operational.
Mate, it's obviously not plug and play. You've got a team of guys down here who have got to install it for you?
Yeah, we're in here 6 days a week, working on the commissioning, getting everything together and working. And we're now at the final stages of that assembly commissioning. Hopefully we'll be running some water through later this week. Potentially beer next.
Is that close?
Absolutely.
So mate, this was planned to go in quite a while ago. What held you up?
Look, we were trying to install a multi-million-dollar canning line in the middle of a global pandemic. So we certainly weren't immune to some of the shipping delays and just general setbacks that came along with that. We kind of anticipated that would be part of it. We always hope and plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. So we're probably 2 or 3 months behind our ideal timeline. But we're in a fortunate position that we still have an existing canning line that's running, so we're not in a downstage period where we're unable to package. We just want to get this thing up and running as soon as we can.
I bet everyone's stomping at the bit.
Absolutely. It's this kind of shit that gets us excited. So here we've got our double dryers right before we go into what is my most proudest bit of kit on this entire line. The dryer's there to help facilitate getting that condensation off the side of the cans. We're in tropical Queensland, and it doesn't take much for some beads of water to start forming on those cold cans.
You can't have soggy boxes.
We don't want soggy boxes, no. This leads us into our little 4-pack applicator. So this project came about through our kind of sense of innovation and I guess a little bit of arrogance. When we were looking into the market to find an applicator to be able to keep up with the line, we needed something that could do in the vicinity of 250 to 300 cans per minute, and it turns out there wasn't a lot available. So we decided we'd have a crack at building our own.
I'm sure that was nowhere near as easy as it sounded.
That's a very sophisticated piece of equipment.
Absolutely, when we're putting together a $3 million packaging line, why not go and throw another spanner in the works and try and develop your own equipment, I reckon. It's definitely the Black Ops way. It's how we like to operate. We're trying to find the best solution for each task, and we also like to back ourselves as being creative and innovative in that space. We've got an excellent team of electricians, plumbers, engineers that we work with, and I love coming to them with crazy ideas and getting them excited about it.
Sometimes the crazier the better.
So you got those 3D printed specifically for this. I mean, obviously I wouldn't know where to begin ordering the parts. You had to have stuff specifically made. You really built the whole thing from the ground up.
Quite literally from the ground up. So a lot of the components on here we actually designed and built in-house in our workshop. Some of the bits and pieces we didn't have the equipment or all the know-how to be able to do. So the Star Wheel application process that we've got here, that was 3D designed and printed, and we had to make sure that we had all the measurements and the angles on that absolutely perfect, so that it would locate with the can and the lid at the same time and feed that through the press plate. And so finding these people and these companies to do that, some of it came from the knowledge of the guys that are involved in the project, having worked on packaging equipment before. Some of it we just had to learn. Some of it we had to go and find. Like, we had to find solutions for these problems.
Some trial and error was to be expected, of course.
What you're seeing here was not the first iteration. We had to go back to the drawing board. We got the fundamentals right, but it was about fine-tuning, getting that repeatability, getting that speed up. And we were able to luckily tap into some government support through R&D grants and to be able to help us to design and develop this far out.
It looks a little bit like Meccano or Lego, but had your team done anything like this before?
No, not on this scale. We work a lot on small automation processes and kind of coming up with new solutions for small problems. So collectively, I think we've kind of done something remotely similar, but we've never taken on a project of this scale. However, I knew we had the right people, I knew we had the right skills, and we definitely had the right attitude. And so we brought it together. We presented a basic proof of concept within 2 months. We showed that to the rest of the team so that we all had confidence that we could actually get lids to apply to cans. And then from that point on, it was the point of no return for us. We either went head first into building our own, or we succeeded and said, all right, you know what? Turns out we're not equipment manufacturers. We'll buy that one off the shelf. But no, we were confident that we had the application right. It took another 6 months of fine tuning, but we got there, and here we are standing in front of the complete machine, which we'll be commissioning this week and next. And we've already had some equipment manufacturers approach us about licensing the design of it. So hopefully that means we got it right.
It sounds like you got it right. If someone else wants to buy one off you.
I'm sure no one could argue with that logic.
We're not a large brewery, we're a small brewery. We love to have the flexibility, and that's how we can be different from the bigger guys. The bigger you get, the harder it is to satisfy small demand or do things on a small scale. So if we see something that we want to do and really have to be first to market with a new idea, we can do it next week, we can do it next day.
2022 was already half done, and the Slipstream crew had plenty of new things to talk about.
So, mate, are you all settled in?
Oh, mate, settled in, yeah. Good team, making good beer. Finally settled in, mate, yeah.
New equipment had been brought in alongside the new tap house, which locals were loving.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been well supported. The locals still love it. I love coming down here and enjoying the food. It's the locals' third space.
A little reminder that the train station's so close.
Along with some new beer, of course.
Mate, there's one in the tank that Henry actually brewed it. It was his last beer, and his last day he brewed a dark, strong Belgian. It's really good.
But they'd also sadly said goodbye to one of their key brewers.
Henry's moved on.
Yeah.
Is he going to be sorely missed, or?
He will be. He will be. He's a very good brewer, very dedicated. Yeah, I was always learning from him as well, you know.
Yeah.
And he knew his place better than anyone else, you know. He's been here since over 3 years ago he started, and yeah, he will be missed. Yeah, sorely missed.
There was, however, still plenty to smile about, as Slipstream had now been going strong for half a decade.
Mate, this is a cracker.
Cheers.
Cheers. Just had quite a big celebration, your 5th anniversary.
Yeah, can't believe it. We're 5 years young now. It's hard to imagine. Time's flown by, and we've been having you back here now for the last few years.
Yep.
Seen our progress, the venue expansion.
Thoroughly impressive, mate. Yeah. Thoroughly impressive.
And what better way to compliment 5 years in the business than another 5 awards?
Yeah, we did very well at the Queensland Awards, and we went on to the Australian International Beer Awards and picked up five medals, so 2 golds, 3 silvers and 4 bronzes, which we're really happy with. It just proves that our beers are some of the best in Australia.
Do you really feel like you've put a sort of stamp of authority on with this brand now after winning all those awards?
Yeah, I think so. Being around for 5 years just gives us that, stability, our brand recognition, and we're sort of here to stay, I guess. And we want to continue to enter into awards and really improve and do the best we can with the quality of our beers.
What's the issue with the actual stability of the beer?
Well, big breweries pasteurize their beer, right?
Yeah.
We, 95% of breweries don't pasteurize it. So it's next to impossible to get rid of all the yeast, for example. So you can filter, you go through centrifuge, and you remove 99% of the load, but you have a little bit of a load in there. Any fermentable sugar that hasn't been used, if you store it warm, you can re-ferment.
And that meant what exactly?
So brewing is always a compromise. What may give you more body and flavor gives you less stability. So if you want a very stable product, you should probably polish it so that there's no protein, no haziness left in the beer. But if you want a can of hazy, that's going to be unstable. And you don't want to pasteurize a hazy anyway. Big players now are getting into probably meeting us halfway and doing cold storage. The whole supply chain is now cold. Quite often gets picked up here, that's in our cold room, goes into inside a cold truck.
Deal had also recently streamlined one of the biggest components of their production.
We've also just recently, last week, commissioned a malt silo. So that'll help with, the cost of malt. That'll bring that down a bit, and then quite a lot of manual handling is involved in what we used to do, which was handle bags of malt, so 25 kilo bags. With the malt silo, we'll have a conveyancing system which will take away, sort of several hours of labour from each batch of beer that we make.
So now that you have settled in, what are you looking at as your future?
Mate, sky's the limit. Have you tried the Uncharted IPA? Single hop with HPC 586. It's an experimental hop. It's probably the best IPA you'll have this year. It's amazing.
So when you say experimental, are you seriously one of the first brewers to use it?
As far as I know, we're the second brewery to use it in Australia, but I'm sure Cryer distributes it, so I'm sure there'll be other breweries brewing at the moment or soon using it.
Despite all the initial chaos, Bert had managed to drop back a gear.
So all in all, you're in a good place.
Mate, we're in a good place. Definitely in a good place, yeah. It feels like, a world away when I last spoke to you, and I definitely feel lighter, and I feel I achieved a lot more. Back then, what was it, my 2nd or 3rd month here, and it was rush. I kind of hit the ground running in the middle of a busy time, let's put it that way. So yeah, it feels good now.
And it sounded like it was time to put things in cruise control.
Smooth sailing ahead.
Smooth sailing, mate, definitely.
It seemed fair to think that there will be plenty of things happening at this little brewery, and be more than enough to keep Deal occupied.
Any plans for like an off-site location, like just a small tap house somewhere? Or?
Yeah, I think at the moment, one venue's enough. Especially coming out of COVID, the hospitality sector's been knocked around a fair bit.
Yep.
But we were always looking for opportunities.
Okay then, what about everyone else?
I guess we've sort of got to come back to one of the questions that I asked you when we first met, and that is, what do you think in terms of the industry and saturation?
Yeah, I think there's some way to go. I think as long as consumers continue to be brought along the craft beer path, that the industry can continue to grow. And so long as that, I think breweries aren't being put on top of each other, that different locations and different geographic regions are tapped into, then there's space there. I think that that other breweries should look at what they really want to be, whether they're going to be a production brewery or just a brew pub, and really stick to their guns there. It does seem that a lot of breweries start up, and before you know it, they're a tiny brew pub, but they're putting beer in packaging. And that's filling up a lot of retail space where perhaps it's not a viable long-term solution. So I think in the long term that'll probably get sorted out by attrition, but in the short term it's a certainly a very crowded space, and there's only a certain amount of retail space on shelves.
Yeah.
But there was one bit of growth that Deal wasn't going to shy away from.
Yeah, it's certainly amped up. We went from 5 staff to about 30 staff now, which takes a whole different set of management. Basically, you're in the HR business and hospitality, but it's fun. We enjoy it. We wouldn't do it any other way.
Oh, mate. Here's to the next 5 years.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mate, it is rocking and rolling.
Here we are.
It looks awesome.
It's happening.
Yeah.
We finally got there.
It's been a challenging year, but it is what it is. We managed to...
Because these guys are no longer being...
cooperative, transparent.
No.
Reasonable.
Reasonable is probably the best legal term we can use.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been going for 17 years now. Not many businesses can claim to last that long.
Not in this day and age.
We have proved 2 things. You can grow hops in Queensland and the hops themselves produce great beer, but I think you really need to be closer to your core markets.
So, yeah, coming together pretty quickly, but yeah, it's good. So we need to get a place open so we can get that retail margin we've always wanted.
It's finally going to happen.
Exciting, yeah, exciting times.